Phil Pustiowski here. Thanks for getting back with me, and hopefully you watched all the previous videos. Get you up to date real quick. We started with what's the future of real estate, the near future, the next 1 to 4 years. We talked about what a motivated seller is. We talked about how to find them. We talked about how to talk to motivated sellers. We talked about how to lock in your profits with the right paperwork, how important that is. Then we talked about which deals are the money makers, which deals are the time wasters. We went on and we kind of diverted a little bit, talked a little bit more about how to negotiate a short sale or a foreclosure. Now let's come back to this. We're going to talk about finding a buyer for your deal. This also will work for tenants as well, but we're going to focus on a buyer right now because I've found in this marketplace most people want to make money now and they don't want to just have a $100 a month cash flow. I understand that, Hey, if you can make $50,000 today, what's $100 a month? I mean, that's nothing compared to $50,000 today. So you get that money by finding a buyer. Now, this is so simple. Do not overcomplicate it, right? So many people want to overcomplicate everything. Don't overcomplicate finding a buyer. Finding a buyer is so easy. I said that. It's so easy. I prove it every single week on my own deals, and my students prove it every single day with all theirs. Look, it's so simple. Where are 95% of all buyers buying their homes from? What medium? The MLS. MLS. That stands for Multiple Listing Service. Real estate agents use the MLS as their central database. Every home that is being sold in the marketplace, when it's listed with an agent, is almost always on the MLS. Literally 95% of all home sales occur on the MLS. Why would you sell your house any other way? I don't know. You hear all these different tactics, building a buyer's list and blah, blah, blah. That's great and fine and good, and I'm sure if you're flipping houses in the ghetto and you're trying to sell a home that's worth $20,000 for $25,000 or $15,000 to another rehab investor, yeah, that makes sense to build a buyer's list. That always makes a little bit of sense. I'm talking about the 80-20 rule here, y'all. 80% of the time, you should always find your buyers on the MLS. It's so simple. Let's talk about why it's so simple. Number one, it's where all the buyers are, right? We already said that. 95%. I'm not just talking about retail buyers that want to move into a property. I'm talking about investors as well. They're all there on the MLS. Second reason, it's done for you. Marketing. Meaning the buyer's agent that's representing the buyer is going to go show the home. You're not showing any homes, no open houses, none of that. They go show the home. So you get the most exposure on a deal you could possibly to every single buyer at the exact point in time. So maximum exposure, and you don't have to do the work. Hey, you have to pay 3% to the buyer's agent. Okay, so there's a 3% expense. But you know what? It's automation. It's automation, and I love automation. So, done for you, maximum exposure. And the last thing is, it's the easiest way to verify that what your pricing is correct. Because everybody else is there as well. So you know exactly what to price it at. And my solution is always to price it low. My attitude in real estate is not location, location, location. I believe price, price, price. Why do I say that? If the price of the property is low enough, you'll always find a buyer. Always. Always, 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 always. Example. Friend of mine is a venture capitalist in California, in the Silicon Valley area. And he recently had a business come up to him with their model, and it's already been working. They have figured out a way to get contaminants out of the soil. So what they do is they go to the Exxon Mobils of the world, and they ask them if they've got any land they don't want, that they've already contaminated. And they have it. And Exxon doesn't just give it to them for free. They pay the company money to take land off their hands. Can you believe it? It's price, price, price. So even if you have a contaminated lot where there used to be a gas station on it, somebody wants that property if the price is right. Isn't that crazy? Price, price, price. So how do you find your buyers? You put it on the MLS, gives you maximum exposure, you have somebody else do all the work for you, and you make the price right. And there's a lot of other details to what needs to go on the MLS sheet, how you get it on the MLS, things of that nature. You may be saying, well, Phil, it's not 3%, it's a 6% expense. Not true if you know how to get it on the MLS for a flat fee. That's not something I could cover in detail right here, but we could definitely share with you in our coaching program. So the MLS is where all the buyers are, and it's where you should be putting all your properties, and it's the most automated way to find them. And if you give me the excuse, well, Phil, the average time a house is on the market in my area is 12 to 24 months, it's because they're priced too high. That's it. That's the only reason. That's it. You drop the price low enough, somebody's going to buy the property. That's all there is to it. So I hope you see just how matter-of-fact I am about this. Do not overcomplicate this. Finding the buyer is so easy. And I will touch on this real quickly as well. And that is the MLS has a lot of retail buyers. You know, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is a lot of people are taught to flip to investors. Hey, I love flipping to investors. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is they don't pay you anything. I am an investor, and if you've got a deal right now, I'm going to try to get it for as cheap as I can. I care so much about the price, I care very little about anything else. I want to get the best deal. What I like about retail buyers, these are people that are going to move into the home. I like retail buyers because they pay me the most. Investors, they're going to complain about price. If I give a retail buyer a good deal, they're going to be more concerned about how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, whether or not the laundry room is close to the master bedroom, things like that. I can make so much more money with a retail buyer. Here's the kind of numbers I'm talking about. You know, you often hear, well, hey, if you flip to an investor, you give somebody else the lion's share. Why do that? You don't need to give somebody else the lion's share. Sell it directly to the retail buyer. Why do you have to go to investors? Really, think about it. You don't in almost all cases. I mean, sometimes a house is a wreck and you have to flip it to an investor, but oftentimes the deal is actually in pretty good shape and you can sell it to a retail buyer. And so as opposed to maybe making, I don't know, $3,000 maybe, you make $30,000 here. And this goes back to that activity versus productivity thing I was talking about in a previous video. This is productivity, y'all. Retail buyers at $30,000. That's productivity. This is activity right here. You'll never become financially free doing like one of these deals a month. You do one or two of these deals a month, now we're talking. You get one or two of these deals a month, you're making more money than the top 1% of all income earners on the planet. That's how much money you're making when you're making 30 to 60 a month. That's a lot of money. You make a little bit more than that, all of a sudden you can get your yachts, you can get the luxury homes, whatever you want to do in this life. So selling to retail buyers is where you're going to make all your money. This may pay a couple of bills if you've got a junker home you got to flip, but all your real money comes from the retail buyers. Now obviously it's not very simple. It's a little more complicated to sell to a retail buyer. You got to have all your ducks in a row, but it's where all the money is. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this, how to find a buyer. It's so simple. It's the MLS, and I like to sell to retail buyers. All right, thanks everybody.